A book I'm hoping to publish in 2025 is The Boy Who Built a Rocket Ship. This book, it's a collection of 2 novellas about boys who face various challenges and have to overcome them, and in doing so learn about the adult world, which of course is something we all have to do. And so I'm hoping it will be an effective way of me gaining some traction with a younger audience, but we'll see how that goes. One of the things that I did want to include in the book was an epigraph at the beginning that would set the tone for the book, such that you'd read it and then have an idea of what you might find in the 2 stories. And so I didn't have an epigraph to hand in my memory, so I used Google to search for a coming of age quote, and I didn't really find anything of any interest. What Google yielded was a whole series of the kind of aphorism, I have trouble with that word, the kind of aphorisms, that you get on those little, you get them on a poster that say, face the world, you can do it, or tomorrow will be a brighter day. And that really wasn't the kind of thing that I wanted. I wanted something a little bit more sophisticated than that would kind of match the sophistication of the stories. And so I struck on the idea of searching for poems about coming of age. And I struck something that I think was perfect for this particular collection, from a poet that I'd never heard of before, a guy called Seamus Heaney, this gentleman. And I believe he is, I'm embarrassed to say, sorry about my snoring dog. She stopped because I said her name. I believe if he hasn't won the Pulitzer, he might have won a Nobel Prize. So he's pretty damn famous, and I knew nothing about him. But I came across one of his poems called The Early Purges, which I feel really captures that moment when you face up to the fact that life isn't all sweetness and light, and they're really going to be tough challenges out there. And that, I don't know, how do I get this? That is the epilogue, which is half of the Early Purges poem, and I'm going to read it to you just to give you an impression about what this book might yield. Also because I like this poem a lot, although it's not an easy one. Anyway, here we go. I'm not a great reader, so forgive me that, but roll with it. Here we go. I was 6 when I first saw kittens drown. Dan Taggart pitched them, the scraggy wee shits, into a bucket, a frail metal sound. Soft paws scrabbling like mad, but their tiny din was soon soused. They were slung on the snout of the pump, and the water pumped in. Sure, tisn't it better for them now? Dan said. Like wet gloves, they bobbed and shone till he sluiced them out on the dunghill, glossy and dead. Now, you're probably going to say that's pretty grim, but I think it's something that we all encounter when we first have that experience of something dying, something that we might love dying, a pet, or even a relative or a family member. For me, it was the death of a raven that I and a friend caught in a wood near where we lived, which had a broken wing. and we thought we could rescue and nurse back to health. And in fact, that story is recorded in about the author of, not this book, but actually I think it's this one. I think I recorded the story of that raven as, no I didn't, oh no, it must be here, of that raven as an about the author statement. Yes, here we go. I tell you, I'm hopeless with this. A Little Life, which is about that raven, and that is my about the author section in this book. And so I think that poem, Seamus Heaney's poem, captures the essence of what I'm trying to do in this book, which is that in each story, the boys face, the older boy in one and the younger boy in another, face that transition, one of those big transitions in childhood when you realise that, you know, that lovely innocent view you have of the world and those innocent beliefs are broken forever, and you take an important step towards adulthood.